but I'll get started because there's a fair bit in this one this month. Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. Unfortunately, it's the end of the first month already, but that's time flies when you're having fun. A few things I just want to. Oh, what are we doing? Not that one. This isn't the. Is this the slide back? No. Bloody IT. I'll go straight into the budget and I'll come back to the other stuff because that's what they've given me here. All right. I just thought I'd give you a recap or an update on how we're tracking towards our budget because obviously we had 6 months, first 6 months. And look, it was a really strong 6 months. This is just total revenue. We are up 3% on budget. So we did 33.6 million for the 6 months. Budget was 32.6, so up 3% on budget. But the really exciting figure is we're up 17% on last year. So last year was 28.7, we're up to 33.6. So 17% growth. In our strategy that the board approved last year, we're aiming for a 12.5% growth. At 12.5% growth, we're sort of doubling every 6 years, which, part of the thing when I often talk about growth is making sure that, as long as we're growing, we're creating opportunities for people to go through the business and thrive through the business. So if we can do 12.5%, which every 6 years, if we keep at 17%, which we are for the last 6 months, obviously it's a 6-month period, but still very exciting. We're basically doubling every 5 years. So a really good 6-month results. We're effectively 51% of the year done in terms of our annual budget. And we often, in a few of the divisions, the budget is more back-ended. So, hopefully we can well and truly exceed budget for the end of the financial year. And we also do have some couple of really large jobs in that we think will allow outperformance in any event. Gross profit was also up 16.4 against a budget of 16.1, up 2%. And compared to this time last year, we're actually up 33%. So again, normally our back half, our second half of the year is usually stronger. The year leading up to January to June is usually stronger than July to December. So again, a really positive result. All right, in terms of the breakdown, this is in terms of total revenue. BA's biggest division in revenue, 37%, forensics, 31% combined, and the other ones are there in terms of revenue size, just to give you all some sort of understanding of the pie. Now, last time I did speak about lockup, and I don't want to do the lecture every time, but for people who weren't here then, we are a unique professional services firm in that we have a big bulky balance sheet. So a lot of professional services firms don't really have many assets on their balance sheet. So we're targeting 66 million this year in revenue, but we've got assets on our balance sheet being debtors and WIP effectively of $36 million. Now, we have this thing that's unique to professional services firm called our deferred ledger. And our deferred ledger predominantly relates to our PI business, where we do work and we don't get paid sometimes till 3 years down the track. And as the people who know the history of Vincent's, the original thing that started Vincent's was doing personal injury economic loss calculations. And early on in the piece, one of the real barriers to entry for other people to compete with us was no one wanted to do work and get paid for it in 3 years, but we were happy to do it. And the fact that we would continue to build an asset over time. So that asset in the deferred ledger. So what happens is when we do a job and we finish a PI job, we send the job off to the lawyer and we send it with a letter saying, just so you know, our costs to date are $8,000. Let us know when the matter settles and we'll issue a bill. Now that goes into our management accounts, into our accounts as revenue. It goes into our management accounts as revenue, but I'll just finish this part and goes into management accounts as revenue, but it's really sitting in this deferred ledger. So for tax purposes, it's WIP. Now that asset has built up over time to currently being 13.2 million. So we do have, so something we monitor all the time, but if you looked at most professional services firms, they'd have, the other issue is our WIP's big. Insolvency practices run big WIP because they're often doing work trying to recover assets, and it can take years to recover the assets to get paid. So if you looked at the professional, like an FTI or one of the professional firms that does insolvency, they'll have big WIP. We've got insolvency, which creates big WIP. And then we've also got a forensic personal injury practice where it's a delayed payment, which doubles it. So we've got this deferred ledger. So it's something that we monitor, because part of the thing is making sure that we're operating and utilising our capital as best we can, because ultimately this large lockup has got to be funded some way. So if I keep saying this every quarter and you get sick of hearing the story about lockup, just tell me to stop and I'll stop. But anyway, so we've actually had quite a good period in terms of monitoring. So our WIP's up 15% for the year, which is probably not too bad. Deferred ledger actually only increased 4%, which is very low from what has been happening in the last 5 years. And that's as a result of a lot of these claims. We had this massive spike in claims where our revenue went up exponentially and the deferred ledger blew up, and then we needed time for those to start settling. Well, they're now starting to settle. So, the deferred ledger in PI has only gone up about 50,000. It hasn't gone up that much in the last 6 months. We're actually getting as much as we're billing, just about. Last month, we actually got 200,000 more than we billed in that deferred ledger. Obviously, we're at a professional services firm that charges our time. So billable hours is an issue that we look at in terms of when we're looking at our financials. The year-to-date billable hours is 112,596 hours, which is, the budget was 124,000. So it's about 11,500 hours under budget in terms of the budget that we set. So obviously when we set our budgets, we assume that people will be, on a 7.5-hour day are going to be 80% productive. Some are 50% productive, some are 80% productive, whatever you are at your level, and that gets the budget of billable hours. So it is important in terms of us, everybody monitoring thing. I can't stress enough that it is important that if you're physically doing work on something, you should bill it. If we can't charge it, then we write it off, and it's on a write-off. But if it's not on the timesheet, if we don't actually bill the work we do in terms of just, determining workloads, etc., it does make it difficult. So please, if you might think I'm doing this work, but there's no way I'm going to be able to charge it at the end because I know the job's a $6,000 job and there's already $8,000 in the WIP, but leave that to the managers and the directors. They're going to have to write it off. Or maybe they quoted wrong and we know next year we've got to quote higher, etc. So that's the billable hours. Sort of just giving you some things that we look at the ELT and board level in terms of monitoring the performance of the business. Okay, now can you do the other one? Did anyone have any questions on the finances, the budget? I did quickly look at just so people got some divisional issues. There's been some unbelievable results in 6 months. Forensic commercials 20% up on budget in terms of revenue, 35% up on last year. R&R, 4% up on budget, 47% up on last year. Oh, you're not ready. Okay. What else have we got? Private wealth, 19% up on budget, 47% up on last year, and VLS, 37% up on last year. Cool. Thanks. All right. Sorry, I think there was a change of plans at some stage where I was just going to do the budget, but now they've got me doing everything, so it's all one big slide. So sorry. Okay. I just thought we'd touch on quickly on the Vincent's values. So there was obviously a refresh of our values done by the board late last year that was communicated to everybody. And since then, our fantastic marketing teams, spent some time to sort of update all the visuals, if you like. I just go through. Bloody Vinny looks like Phil Gould in that photo, I reckon. For rugby
I've got
league
my microphone
supporters.
on. I feel a bit hurt.
Vision to be trusted advisors of choice where people thrive and clients succeed is our vision. It was a considered decision to put people ahead of clients there. So it is really, the view is that if we can have our staff thriving through the organisation, then the clients will get looked after and they'll succeed. Values, extraordinary client service, celebrate success, continuous improvement, and One Vincent's team, which have been the values for some time. And then we added do what's right as a new value this year. End of last year. And purpose, we use our expertise to make a real difference to our people, our clients, and our communities. In terms of the visuals, the marketing team has sort of got those now to a point where if you are doing a proposal or whatever, then there's obviously issues. There's things that you can stick in that look pretty to make your proposal deal with those particular issues. Now, the real answer is that how these symbols got determined was, I think we had a choice of 5 and they presented to the ELT and we picked the one we liked. But in good marketing spin, I've been told that the diamond here is a symbol of enduring quality and trust and represents our commitment to deliver extraordinary client service. The star reminds us to recognise and celebrate our achievements through Vincent's Value Awards and everyday wins. We celebrate success. The arrows, which I had to look to see which one was the arrows, but that's the arrows. I thought it was a pentagon, but that's arrows in sort of going around. So the arrows in a circular motion symbolise growth, innovation and progress as we strive for continuous improvement. The sphere represents our unity, balance and collaboration, a symbol for our people coming together as one, working collectively towards our shared goal as One Vincent's team. And the tick reminds us of the integrity and accountability to always do what's right for our clients, our colleagues and our community. So that's the new graphics. There is an activation plan. Maybe. Sorry? Yeah. There's an activation plan to roll out this because it's obviously, in the workshops where we refreshed our values, it was clear that there was a strong alignment to those values, but what people wanted was to see them more deeply embedded in what we do every day. So that's what we're aiming to do through this activation plan, to the point where the recognition and accountability. I won't go through all those other things, but, where they are, we build our vision, values and purpose alignment into KPIs, 360 feedback and leadership development plans. So specifically, looking at making decisions. When we make decisions, that we're making sure that we're considering our values at all times. Performance and promotions align the values, vision and purpose to behavioural expectations and career frameworks and promotion criteria. Client feedback that we build into those vision, values and purpose, etc. So there's a plan of, you'll see on the screens as you come out of the lifts and in different spaces, a lot more details of it, but it's just important that everyone understands what our vision is, what our purpose is, and what our values are, because that's effectively, we think, fundamental to us to achieve a strategy of what we're trying to do. Okay. Now we've done the budget update. There was no, I did ask that, no questions on the financials. If anyone ever does, don't be afraid to come and speak to your director or come and see me anytime. I'm happy to talk through it. In terms of the firm and business unit updates, bit going on, start of the year. There's an engagement survey that was sent around via to Culture Amp, the organisation who provide that survey, sent around this week. Look, your feedback is incredibly important to help us understand what's working well, where we can continue to improve, so Vincent's remains a great place for everyone to work. So it's really important that we get a lot of, we're in the high 90% of people completing their engagement surveys. We've got mid-year reviews now open in VinHive. So if you can go in and do those and make sure that your managers and directors have organised your catch-ups to go through those mid-year reviews. MW Recruitment Swimming Carnival on the 6th of March. We've only got 3 swimmers so far, so if anyone else wants to put their hand up, please do. And apparently there's bonus points if you convince a director to swim. If you want the bonus points, Paul Green's probably the easiest one because he spends half his life swimming, so I'm sure he'd be great at swimming. Career Week. Career Week is launching in February. Career Week is an opportunity to connect with colleagues, learn about different career pathways and explore opportunities across the firm. Official communications will be shared over the coming weeks. Keep an eye out for updates. There will be plenty of ways to get involved, from attending sessions to joining discussions and activities. Great way to find out more about what's going on in the firm in a division that you're not in. And the STEP graduate program. So we welcome our new 26 graduate intake next week. There's a 3-day induction program. And if you see new people, there's quite a lot on the list of people that have already been here as undergraduates, so a lot of the faces will be familiar, but there'll be some new faces, and make sure you introduce yourself to the new graduates. Last year, between September and October, we did the Vincent Psychosocial Survey results. Obviously, it's important that we provide an environment that's safe for people to work in, and part of that is doing a survey every year to see, where we've got if there's concerns and how we can put plans in place to address those concerns. Just giving everyone an update. The participation on this one wasn't great, 68%. It's enough to create a sample, but we sort of are really emphasising on our divisional heads next year or this year to ensure that there's follow-ups and really encourage people to get and do that survey, because it's important for us to completely understand what's going on and the pressures that you're under. It effectively looks at those 12 key factors on the left over there: well-being, job demands, job control, meaningful work, role clarity and conflict, etc., etc. So there's questions in relation to each of those each of those key factors, which creates concerns in relation to psychosocial in the workplace. Just some feedback, so everyone's aware of what the results of that were. The 10 highest scoring questions, so, you know, in the category of role clarity and conflict, there's a number of questions. The questions where we scored really highly were, I usually feel clear on what tasks are most important to prioritise at work. In terms of reward and recognition, I have access to learning and development, and I need to do my job well. Role clarity and conflict, I know what I need to do to be successful in my role. And well-being, I usually have enough energy to overcome challenges at work. So those ones, they're our 10 highest scoring questions. Our 10 lower scoring questions, which are obviously the more concerning ones, and really the purpose of these surveys is to work out areas that we need to improve or at least investigate and work on to try to deal with those issues. 10 lower scoring, well-being. So I rarely feel overstressed at work. We scored poorly on, so people feeling overstressed at work. So that's something we need to deal with. Organisational justice, when it is clear that someone is not delivering in their role, we do something about it. Organisational justice, policies and procedures are consistently applied to everyone at Vincent's. Organisational justice, workloads are divided fairly among people where I work. And job demands, my work is challenging but rarely overwhelming. So I've just gone through the top 5. Look, P&C have got those results. They've then gone away and developed an action plan. That the action plan was approved by the board yesterday on how we're going to deal with those. And the ones that we're focusing on initially are these ones over here. So looking at job demand, support, organisational justice, and psychological safety and job control. So specifically looking at those items. Now, and having a strategy in place to deal with those particular issues so that we can hopefully have people not feeling that they've got stress levels that are too high for the work that's there. Now, part of that will be some one-on-ones. So obviously we've, the results are anonymous. No, we don't know who said what, but we do have a breakdown in terms of what divisions are in. So we know the divisions where there's particular areas of concern. We know demographics of how long you've been at Vincent's in terms of your concerns. So we could sort of see that, it's maybe people between 5 and 10 years at Vincent's are more stressed than the people that have been here from 0 to 5 years, etc. So we've sort of got those divisions, and part of that would be we do want to do some one-on-ones just to get some further feedback to work out what we can do to try to alleviate some of these psychosocial issues. All right, I might move on from that. Firm business unit updates. What are we doing here? Okay, sorry. One Vincent's team. One Vincent's team, the Australian Bar Association, I think ABA, Australian Bar Association, yep. Advocacy course, so there was, that was recently held. Forensic Commercials, Millie Johnson and Ben Hawker, along with Forensic PI, Elisa Clerk, Angus McLeod and Michael Lee, took to the stand last week to support barrister training as part of the ABA advocacy course. It was a valuable learning opportunity for everyone involved. So great training for our people. It was training for barristers, but they obviously have to practice cross-examining and examining experts. and we provided the expert. So it sort of gave us some training as well in terms of our people coming up that'll be giving evidence soon, that they can do it in a training environment rather than a real court. Other celebrate success. Julia Bossett. During the month, Julia received a long-awaited judgment from Western Australian courts where her evidence was wholly accepted by the judge and utilised to arrive at a significant award for damages for a survivor of sexual abuse. The judge said in part, Ms Bossett is clearly qualified to provide expert evidence in the case about the past and future economic loss of Miss X. The evidence Miss Bossett is accepted and the topics covered. I'm satisfied that the methodology described is sound. So that's great result for Julia. You know, our personal injury team, the success rate in terms of when it does go to judgments, and part of the reason why that division is so successful is that they win cases, and ultimately, when you're up against another expert, it's the stressful part of being in that area and giving evidence, is that there is a winner and a loser. There's not too many areas in professional services where you actually are considered the loser and you are considered the winner, because that's what happens. A judge has got to find in favour of one. There's usually two accountants on the matter and they're phoning in one on the other. But the reason that our division is so successful, that PI division is so successful, is that we win cases, and therefore the lawyers want to use us, the insurers want to use us, both sides want to use us because we get accepted from what we do. So in terms of understanding what people do, it is that what is one really stressful part of that job is, I probably got into it because I like that. I'm competitive and I like competing, and other people do, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. But it is really every job you do, there could be a judgment that says, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, and that's obviously adds stress. But well done to Julia. Audit and assurance, interesting engagement. It's long, but I'll try to read as quick as I can. Audit and assurance was recently appointed an auditor of an aged care facility supporting a niche sector of the community. Throughout the engagement, the team worked closely with the client's general manager and an external service provider. Although the financial statements and compliance audit were originally due on 31 October, progress was delayed due to the client side hold-ups and several technical accounting issues. In November, the team prepared the interim report outlining the issues and observations for management feedback with the intention of finalising it for the board chair. However, management was slow to respond and did not provide the board chair's contact details. In January, the team was contacted directly by the board chair and subsequently attended a board meeting where it became clear that management had not shared the interim report with the board. The audit is now continuing with direct correspondence to the board chair and several new stakeholders. And during the meeting, the board also indicated that the change in management was forthcoming. So, yeah. So I think I know that job, and it's always a red flag when the general manager is Mr. Brown and the CFO is Mrs. Brown and the head of operations is their daughter, Jane. And I'm pretty sure that's the case in this one. Yeah. All right. And we could get some forensic work out of it too, I reckon. So, all right. Incentive reminder, VLS. This one's important. VLS is currently running an additional referral incentive up until the 28th of February. Refer to the VLS spotlight emails, VinHive, or chat with the team for further details. So effectively, they're happy to pay you for referrals. So $500 for a residential house referral, for a staff loan. Applies to new lending, including purchase, refinance, debt construction. Sounds like if you've got an existing, is there anyone? Oh, here we go. But if you've got an existing home loan for more than 18 months and you refinance it, is it? Right, there you go. So if you do have a home loan already with them and it's more than 18 months, you can get $1,000 by them refinancing it. There you go. All right. Marketing. Look, there's busy time of year. That's what they've got. They're the functions or that they've got coming up until 12th of March. It's important to sort of look at these because if there's any of these that, as you know, you might be in another division, but you know someone who might be there or whatever, and you think it's worth your while being at that event, don't be afraid to speak to marketing or the head of the division that's running that event to say you want to go. So that's what's on up until the 12th of March. Celebrating success. There's only one, I think. Mai. Thanks to Mai for coming in on 30 December to retrieve a trust deed and certify it so VLS could get a client's facility unconditional on time. Mai was happy to assist and it was well appreciated by the VLS team. This demonstrates both extraordinary client service and One Vincent's team. Don't forget to get your recognition at Vincent's in. If you do notice something that deserves recognition, we want to acknowledge those people. In terms of what's coming up for the firm updates, monthly firm updates, that's who's sponsoring them or who will be presenting them right through to October. Thanks, everyone.